Stewart's work or Kristen Dumais' work, where they talk about how in this earlier 70s and especially in the 60s, a lot of these organizations like Christianity Today and other evangelical organizations were pro-abortion. And
Yeah.
then we hit a certain point and then all of a sudden it's the rallying cry. And then we're made to believe in a very ahistorical way that that's what started things. No, it wasn't. Again, the other conversations predated these things. And like you said, Jerry Falwell, a raging racist and segregationist, though he has this come to Jesus moment and apparently all is well and God's on his throne afterwards. But I think it's just wild how ahistorical these folks are. And I think typically what's so ironic about it is how they oftentimes try to use history. Again, their construction of history and not just interpretation, but like construction, because it's like completely that. It's like a construction, it's a fabrication of a bunch of different, things. Whether if we want to think about homosexuality, it's always that, this is the way it's been forever. And we've always been against this. And then if you look at the historical sort of like development of homophobia within the church, we think back to 1946, which is when homosexuality first enters the Bible, right? Like that language was not used for any translation up until 1946. And again, there's a history there. There's obviously a lot to talk about there, and there's a documentary about it now. But all this to say is that they make it seem like this has always been the case. And it's not, again, like not to say that Christians have been like super open and cool for like queers all throughout all time in history. They haven't.
Not
But
so much.
it wasn't the way that it's been. No, it's not been the
No.
way that it's framed. And then again, this idea of abortion, that we've always been against abortion. Like we have like very clear historical documentation, not just coming from like historians, but like from these organizations. You go into their archives, you can find documentation of them changing their narrative. Again, they were one thing and now they're not.